First contact with the swarm. The research vessel Horizon cuts silently through the void of space, its sensors probing the unusual quantum fluctuations that had drawn it to the edges of known space. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at her station, dark eyes fixed on the cascade of data streaming across her holographic display. The anomalies they'd detected in this sector had defied every known law of physics, and after 6 months of tracking similar phenomena across 3 star systems, they were finally closing in on the source. Dr. Rodriguez, you might want to see this. Lieutenant James Chen's voice carried an edge of concern that made Elena look up from her calculations. The sensor operator's hands flew across his console, bringing up a 3-dimensional representation of space around them. The quantum distortions are intensifying, but there's something else. These energy signatures, they're organized. Elena moved to his station, her scientific curiosity momentarily overshadowing her caution. The patterns were unlike anything she'd ever seen. Complex, geometric formations that seemed to pulse with their own internal rhythm. "This isn't natural," she muttered, more to herself than to Chen. "Captain Walker needs to see this." Before she could reach for the comm, the ship's AI, interrupted with an urgent announcement. Multiple spatial anomalies detected. Unknown objects materializing in proximity to the horizon. Energy signatures do not match any known configurations. Captain Sarah Walker strode onto the bridge, her experienced eyes taking in the situation at a glance. "Talk to me, people. What are we looking at?" The answer came in the form of reality itself seeming to tear open around them. Through holes in space that defied comprehension, they emerged. Massive, crystalline structures that moved with impossible grace. Their surfaces reflected the light of distant stars in ways that hurt the eyes, creating patterns that seemed to bypass normal space altogether. 12 unknown vessels, Chen reported, his voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. "They're arranging themselves in some sort of formation around us." Walker's response was immediate. "Battle stations. Dr. Rodriguez, secure your data. Lieutenant Chen, begin emergency broadcast on all frequencies. If these are first contact protocols, I want to be ready. If they're not..." She left the thought unfinished. The alien vessels made their intentions clear before any communication could be attempted. Energy beams of an impossible violet hue lanced out from multiple ships simultaneously, striking the horizon's shields with devastating precision. The research vessel's defensive systems, though advanced, had never been designed to withstand this kind of assault. "Shields at 60% and dropping," Araya reported calmly. "Unknown energy type is causing cascade failures in our defensive matrix. Standard countermeasures ineffective." Walker's mind raced through options as her crew responded with well-trained efficiency. The Horizon was a research vessel, but like all ships in deep space, it carried certain hidden advantages. "Initiate Protocol Omega." "Dr. Rodriguez, how much data have you collected on their arrival method?" Elena's fingers flew across her console, compiling the massive amount of data they'd gathered. Enough to understand the basics. They're using quantum tunneling on a massive scale, creating temporary bridges through subspace. It's brilliant, but there's a pattern to it. Give me time, and I can predict their movements. "Time is something we don't have," Walker responded as another barrage rocked the ship. "But we can buy some." "Lieutenant Chen, deploy the quantum mines." The Horizon released a cloud of seemingly innocent debris, fragments of metal and crystal that appeared to be nothing more than battle damage. But hidden within these fragments were sophisticated quantum sensors, each one collecting data on the alien vessel's unique method of space travel. "Begin emergency jump sequence," Walker ordered. "But first, let's leave our friends a parting gift. Dr. Rodriguez, your theory about disrupting quantum fields. Care to test it?" Elena's eyes lit up with understanding. The research they'd been conducting on quantum fluctuations hadn't just been about understanding them. They'd also developed methods to manipulate them. With quick adjustments to their equipment, they could turn their research tools into weapons. Initiating quantum pulse, Elena announced, her fingers dancing across the controls. The pulse itself was invisible, but its effects were spectacular. The alien vessel's perfect formation wavered as their quantum tunneling technology temporarily failed, causing several ships to partially phase out of normal space. The Horizon used this moment of confusion to execute its emergency jump, disappearing in a flash of controlled quantum displacement. They left behind not just a field of sophisticated sensors, disguised as debris, but also valuable data about a new threat to humanity. As they materialized safely at the nearest human outpost, Elena was already deep in analysis of the encounter. "Captain," she called out, her voice tight with concern. "These beings, I'm calling them the Quantum Swarm. They're not just advanced. They're using technology that suggests they can appear anywhere, at any time. No system is safe." Walker nodded grimly. "Then we'll need to change the rules of the game. Send everything we have to Fleet Command." The swarm thought they found an easy target, but they just gave humanity something far more valuable: warning and knowledge. What the Quantum Swarm couldn't have known was that this encounter would trigger humanity's greatest strength: the ability to adapt and overcome. The Horizon's escape wasn't just a tactical retreat. It was the beginning of humanity's preparation for a war that would redefine the possible. In the weeks that followed, Elena's analysis of the quantum distortion data would lead to breakthroughs in defensive technology, while the sensor data from their hidden minds would reveal patterns in the swarm's movement that could be predicted and countered. The Horizon's encounter had provided humanity with the tools it needed to fight back against an enemy that had previously seemed unstoppable. Captain Walker's final report to Fleet Command ended with words that would echo through the halls of power. "The Quantum Swarm believed they found prey. Instead, they've awakened humanity's greatest weapon: our relentless drive to overcome any challenge, to adapt to any threat. They may control the quantum realm now, but they've never faced a species like humanity before. We don't just survive. We evolve." The Phoenix Protocol. Fleet Admiral Marcus Jung stood before the holographic display in the heart of Titan Base, watching as simulation after simulation played out before him. Each one represented a different potential defense strategy against the Quantum Swarm, and each one ended in failure. But failure, as humanity had learned countless times before, was simply another step toward success. "Run it again," he ordered, his eyes never leaving the display. "Adjust quantum shield harmonics according to Dr. Rodriguez's latest calculations." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, newly promoted to head of the Emergency Defense Initiative, stepped forward. In the 3 months since the Horizon incident, she had barely slept, working tirelessly to transform her research into humanity's shield. "The simulations show we can't stop their quantum tunneling completely," she explained, "but we can disrupt it, make it costly for them to use." The latest simulation showed a human vessel equipped with the prototype quantum disruption field. When the simulated swarm vessels attempted to materialize nearby, their normally graceful emergence became erratic, forcing them to expend massive amounts of energy just to maintain stable form. "It's not enough," Jung stated, but his tone wasn't dismissive. It was calculating. "We need something more, something they won't expect." "Perhaps we're thinking about this the wrong way," a new voice interjected. Commander Aisha Patel, the youngest person ever to achieve her rank in the fleet's tactical division, moved to join them at the display. "We're trying to stop them from using their advantage. What if we used it against them instead?" Elena's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. "The quantum wake," she breathed. "Every time they tunnel through space, they leave behind distortions in the quantum field. We've been trying to prevent those distortions, but what if we could manipulate them?" Jung turned to face her fully. "Explain." "Think of it like sailing," Aisha continued, her hands moving as she spoke. "A ship leaves a wake behind it. If you know how to read that wake, you can track the ship. But more than that, if you understand the physics well enough, you can use that wake to propel yourself." Elena was already making adjustments to the simulation. We could use their own quantum tunneling events to power our jumps. Not just follow them, but predict where they'll emerge and be waiting for them. Turn their greatest strength into a vulnerability. The simulation played out again, but this time with a crucial difference. As the swarm vessels emerged from their quantum tunnels, the human ships weren't just defending. They were surfing the quantum wake, using the energy of the swarm's own movements to execute impossibly precise tactical jumps. This is the core of the Phoenix Protocol, Zhang announced, naming humanity's comprehensive response strategy for the first time. We adapt. We evolve. We turn our enemies' strengths against them. Over the next weeks, Titan Base transformed from a research facility into the heart of humanity's resistance. Ships were retrofitted with quantum wake riders, devices that could detect and utilize the swarm's quantum distortions. Training protocols were developed to teach crews how to fight in this new paradigm of warfare, where traditional concepts of space and time became fluid. But the Phoenix Protocol wasn't just about defense. Deep within the base's secure labs, Alina and her team worked on the next phase, Project Chimera. If they could understand how the swarm manipulated quantum fields, they could do more than just follow them. They could beat them at their own game. The key is in the crystalline structure of their ships, Alina explained to Zhang during one late-night briefing. We've analyzed the sensor data from the Horizon incident. Their vessels aren't just using quantum tunneling. They're quantum constructs themselves. Each ship is a massive quantum computer, calculating and executing jumps in real time. Can we replicate it? Better. Elena revealed the prototype she and her team had been developing. It looked deceptively simple, a small crystal that seemed to shift and change, even as they watched it. We've created a hybrid technology, part traditional engineering, part quantum construct. It can't match their raw power, but it doesn't need to. It's more efficient, more adaptable, more human. The first test of the new technology came sooner than expected. A distress signal from the colony on Europa caught everyone off guard. The swarm had returned, and this time they weren't just probing defenses. They were launching a full assault. Deploy the Chimera Squadron, Zhang ordered. The newly retrofitted ships, led by Commander Patel, represented humanity's best hope. They carried Alina's hybrid quantum technology, along with crews trained in the new tactics developed under the Phoenix Protocol. As the squadron prepared for deployment, Alina made one final adjustment to the quantum wake riders. Remember, she transmitted to the fleet, you're not just following them anymore. You're hunting them. Every jump they make gives us more power, more data, more advantage. They think quantum manipulation is their domain alone. Let's show them how humanity adapts. The Chimera Squadron vanished in a cascade of quantum jumps, each ship leaving behind its own carefully calculated wake. The Phoenix Protocol was more than just a defensive strategy. It was humanity's declaration that no technology, no advantage, would remain solely in enemy hands for long. As Jean watched the squadron depart, he reflected on humanity's long history of facing seemingly insurmountable odds. The swarm thinks they've mastered the fundamental forces of the universe, he mused, but they've never encountered a force quite like human determination. We don't just use technology. We transform it, improve it, make it our own. That's our real strength. The first battle of the Phoenix Protocol was about to begin, and with it, the next chapter in humanity's eternal story of adaptation and survival. The quantum swarm was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't any technology. It was their relentless drive to overcome any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. Operation Thunderstrike. Commander Aisha Patel stood on the bridge of the HSS Chimera, watching as Europa's ice-covered surface reflected the distant light of Jupiter. Her squadron of 12 ships, each equipped with the new hybrid quantum technology, maintained a perfect formation, but not in normal space. They existed in a state of quantum flux, riding the boundary between regular spacetime and the quantum realm that the swarm called home. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension running through the bridge. Quantum wake riders operating at optimal efficiency, Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported from her station. "We're detecting significant distortions approaching from the Jovian sector. The swarm is taking the bait. The trap had been carefully laid. The apparent vulnerability in Europa's defenses was a calculated risk, designed to draw out the enemy that had been terrorizing human colonies across the solar system. But this time, humanity was ready. All ships, initiate Phase 1, Asia ordered. Remember your training. Don't fight their way. Fight ours." The Chimera Squadron shifted formation, each vessel adjusting its quantum state to create a complex web of intersecting wake patterns. To conventional sensors, they were barely visible. But to the swarm's quantum-based perception, they would appear as a confusing maze of possibilities. The enemy arrived exactly as predicted. 15 swarm vessels materialized in a brilliant display of violet energy, their crystalline forms distorting the space around them. They moved to surround what they perceived as an isolated defense platform above Europa, only to find themselves caught in humanity's first tactical quantum trap. "Execute Thunderstrike Protocol," Asia commanded. The Chimera Squadron responded as one, each ship activating its hybrid quantum drives in a precisely choreographed sequence. The effect was immediate and devastating. The quantum wake patterns they had established began to resonate with the swarm's own quantum fields. Where the aliens had expected to find easy prey, they instead found themselves trapped in a web of competing quantum states. Their ability to freely tunnel through space was suddenly compromised. "They're attempting to compensate." Elena's voice came through the comm. She was monitoring the battle from Titan Base, analyzing the swarm's responses in real time. "Their quantum field harmonics are shifting, just as we predicted." Asia allowed herself a small smile. "Initiate Phase 2. Show them what humanity's been working on." The Chimera Squadron's ships began to move in ways that should have been impossible. Using the energy from the swarm's own quantum drives, they executed micro-jumps that seemed to defy physics itself. Each jump was calculated to create maximum disruption in the enemy's quantum fields while requiring minimal energy from the human vessels. "Target Alpha is showing signs of quantum destabilization," Chen reported, excitement creeping into her voice. "Their field integrity is failing." The first swarm vessel, its quantum field disrupted by the overlapping wake patterns, began to phase erratically between normal space and the quantum realm. Its crystalline structure, unable to maintain coherence, started to fragment. But the swarm wasn't defeated easily. The remaining ships adjusted their formation, attempting to create a counter-resonance that would break free of the quantum trap. Their response was elegant, sophisticated, and exactly what humanity had been counting on. "They're doing it." Elena's voice was triumphant. "They're revealing their adaptation protocols. All ships, capture that data and prepare for Phase 3. Asia keyed in the final sequence. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderstrike's killing stroke. Let's show them why you don't underestimate human ingenuity." The Chimera Squadron's hybrid drives engaged simultaneously, but instead of creating more wake patterns, they began to absorb the quantum energy being emanated by the struggling swarm vessels. Each human ship became a quantum sink, drawing in the very energy the aliens used to maintain their form and structure. The effect was catastrophic for the swarm. Without their quantum fields to maintain cohesion, their crystalline ships began to break apart. Those that attempted to escape found their quantum tunneling abilities suppressed by the complex web of interference patterns the human ships had established. 5 enemy vessels destroyed, Chen reported, her fingers dancing across her console as she tracked the battle. 3 more showing critical instability. The remainder are attempting to retreat, but their quantum signatures are compromised. "We can track them now." Asia nodded grimly. "Let them run. They'll lead us right to their staging area." She opened a channel to all ships. "Well done, Chimera Squadron. Today we proved that humanity isn't just capable of defending against their technology. We can master it, improve it, and turn it against them." As the remaining swarm vessels fled, Leaving behind the shattered remnants of their fallen companions, Asia transmitted a final message to Titan Base. Operation Thunderstrike successful. But more importantly, we've confirmed Dr. Rodriguez's theories. Their quantum technology isn't magic. It's science. And humanity has always excelled at taking scientific principles and pushing them beyond their supposed limits. Back at Titan Base, Elena was already analyzing the massive amount of data collected during the battle. Each swarm response, each adaptation attempt, revealed more about their technology and tactics, but more importantly, it revealed their limitations. They relied too heavily on their quantum superiority, she reported to Admiral Zhang. They never developed countermeasures because they never expected anyone else to master quantum manipulation. That's their weakness. They've become over-specialized. Zhang studied the battle recordings, watching as human ships danced through quantum space with a grace that matched the swarms. And that's humanity's strength. We never stop learning, never stop adapting. Every technology we encounter becomes part of our arsenal, improved by human innovation. The success of Operation Thunderstrike marked a turning point in the conflict. Humanity had proven they could not only fight the swarm but beat them at their own game. But more importantly, they had shown that human ingenuity and adaptability were forces that even the most advanced quantum technology couldn't overcome. The turning point. The holographic display in Titan Base's central laboratory pulsed with complex patterns of quantum energy signatures. Dr. Elena Rodriguez hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't stop now. Hidden in the data from Operation Thunderstrike was something unprecedented, a pattern she'd nearly missed. "RIA, run that sequence again," she commanded the AI system. "Focus on the quantum resonance patterns during their attempted retreat." The artificial intelligence complied, highlighting the subtle variations in the swarm's quantum fields during their desperate escape. "Pattern anomaly detected," RIA announced. "Quantum signature shows unexpected synchronization across all swarm vessels." Elena's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "They're not independent," she whispered. "They're all connected. Admiral Zhang needs to see this immediately." Within an hour, the command center was filled with key personnel. Admiral Zhang stood with Commander Patel and the top military strategists as Elena presented her findings. "We've been thinking about the swarm all wrong," Elena began, manipulating the holographic display. "We assumed each ship was an independent entity using similar technology. But look at this." She highlighted the quantum signatures from multiple battles. "Their quantum fields don't just resemble each other. They're perfectly synchronized. Every ship is connected to every other ship through quantum entanglement on a scale we never thought possible." "A hive mind," Asia suggested, studying the patterns. "More like a quantum network," Elena corrected. "Each ship is a node in a vast quantum computer. That's how they coordinate so perfectly, how they adapt so quickly to our tactics. But it's also their greatest vulnerability." Zhang leaned forward. "Explain." "Quantum entanglement is incredibly powerful, but it's also fragile. The more complex the entangled system, the more susceptible it is to collapse. The swarm maintains stability through constant quantum field adjustments. But what if we could disrupt their entire network at once?" "How?" Asia asked. "We can interfere with individual ships, but attacking their entire network would require more energy than our entire fleet could generate." Elena smiled. "Not if we use their own energy against them. Remember how the Chimera Squadron absorbed their quantum energy during the battle? I've been analyzing that data. We don't need to generate the energy ourselves. We just need to create a cascading resonance effect throughout their network." She brought up a new simulation. "Think of it like a chain reaction. We target one node, one ship, with precisely calibrated quantum interference. That disruption would spread through their quantum network, amplifying as it goes. Their own interconnected nature would become their downfall." "But they'd adapt," one of the strategists objected. "They always do." "Not this time," Elena countered. "Because we're not going to attack their ships directly. We're going to target the quantum fabric of space itself. The swarm uses natural quantum filaments to navigate and communicate. If we can disrupt those filaments in a specific way, we can essentially cut them off from each other. Their greatest strength, their perfect coordination, would become impossible. Admiral Zhang studied the simulation carefully. What do you need? We need to modify the Chimera Squadron's quantum wake riders. Instead of just detecting and following quantum filaments, they need to be able to manipulate them. And we need a massive quantum pulse generator, something big enough to affect an entire sector of space. Europa, Aisha said suddenly. The quantum resonance patterns in Europa's ice sheet. We could use them to amplify the pulse. Elena nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. Europa's unique composition makes it a natural quantum amplifier. If we position our fleet correctly and time the pulse precisely, we could disrupt every quantum filament in the Jupiter system simultaneously. The risks? Zhang asked. Significant, Elena admitted. We'll be manipulating the fundamental structure of space-time. If our calculations are off by even a fraction, we could tear a permanent hole in reality. And we'll only get one shot. Once the swarm realizes what we're attempting, they'll adapt their quantum network to compensate. Zhang was silent for a long moment, weighing the possibilities. Finally, he nodded. Begin preparations. Commander Patel, coordinate with Dr. Rodriguez. I want a detailed battle plan within 48 hours. As the others filed out, Elena stayed behind with Aisha to begin working on the technical details. You know what's really ironic? She said, pulling up the specifications for the quantum wake riders. The swarm's perfect unity, their absolute coordination. It's what makes them so formidable. But it's also what will allow us to defeat them. They're so focused on being a perfect collective that they've forgotten the value of independence. That's humanity's real advantage, Aisha agreed. We work together, but we never sacrifice our individual ability to think, to adapt, to find new solutions. Each human ship, each crew, can act independently while still coordinating with the fleet. They worked through the night, refining the plan that would become known as Operation Quantum Storm. As the pieces came together, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. The swarm had brought humanity to the brink of destruction, forced them to evolve beyond their limitations, to master technologies they barely understood. Now finally, humanity would show them why adaptability, creativity, and individual initiative would always triumph over rigid perfection. The quantum storm was coming, and when it broke, the very nature of space warfare would change forever. Victory among the stars. Europa's ice-covered surface glittered beneath Jupiter's massive presence as the combined human fleet moved into position. The Chimera Squadron, led by Commander Aisha Patel's flagship, formed the spearhead of the formation. Behind them, 30 more ships equipped with modified quantum wake riders took up strategic positions around the moon's equator. Deep within Europa's research station, Dr. Elena Rodriguez made final adjustments to the quantum pulse generator. The massive device, integrated with the moon's natural quantum resonance field, hummed with barely contained power. All ships, report status. Admiral Zhang's voice carried across the fleet-wide channel from his command post on Titan Base. Chimera Squadron, ready, Aisha responded, her voice steady despite the weight of what they were about to attempt. Quantum wake riders calibrated to specifications. All ships report green status. Europa Station, ready, Elena confirmed. Quantum pulse generator at 98% charge. The moon's resonance field is responding exactly as predicted. They didn't have to wait long. The swarm arrived in force, their crystalline ships tearing through reality in a display of quantum mastery that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so deadly. Over 50 vessels materialized around the Jupiter system, their quantum fields synchronized in perfect harmony. They took the bait, Aisha observed, watching as the swarm moved to surround the human fleet. They think we're making our last stand. Let them think that, Zhang responded. All ships, maintain position. Wait for my mark. The swarm's attack began with their characteristic precision. Energy beams of impossible violet hue lanced out from multiple ships simultaneously, testing the human fleet's defenses. But humanity had learned from every previous encounter. The modified shields absorbed the quantum-based weapons, using their energy to strengthen their own fields. They're adapting their attack pattern, Elena reported, watching the quantum signature shift. Just as we predicted. Their network is actively reconfiguring to maximize efficiency. Perfect, Zhang said. The more integrated their network becomes, the more vulnerable they are to what comes next. Commander Patel, begin Phase 1. The Chimera Squadron sprang into action, executing a series of precise quantum jumps that seemed random but were anything but. Each movement was calculated to create specific distortions in the quantum fabric of space, herding the swarm into the optimal position relative to Europa's resonance field. They're responding, Asia reported, attempting to counter our maneuvers by increasing their quantum field synchronization. They don't realize they're only making our job easier, Elena said, her fingers flying across her console as she monitored the building resonance patterns. The more they synchronize, the more vulnerable they become to the cascade effect. The battle intensified as the swarm, frustrated by their inability to break the human formation, committed more ships to the attack. Their crystalline vessels moved in complex patterns, trying to find weaknesses in the human defense. But each attack only served to strengthen the quantum interference patterns the fleet was carefully constructing. Quantum resonance at critical threshold, Elena announced. Admiral, we're ready. All ships, final positions, Zhang ordered. Prepare for Operation Quantum Storm. Remember, once we begin, there's no turning back. The quantum pulse will affect everything in the system, including us. Trust your training and your ship's automated systems to ride out the storm. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, each vessel taking up its designated position in a complex geometric pattern around Europa. The swarm, sensing something was wrong but unable to determine what, began to pull back. They're trying to disengage, Asia reported. They finally realized this was a trap. Too late, Elena said. Quantum pulse generator at full power. Europa's resonance field is perfectly aligned. Admiral, we're ready on your mark. Zhang took a deep breath, knowing this moment would be remembered in human history, either as their greatest triumph or their last stand. Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the pulse. All ships, brace for quantum disruption. Show them why humanity never stops fighting, never stops adapting, never surrenders. Elena activated the quantum pulse generator. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself seemed to shudder. The quantum filaments that permeated space, invisible but essential to the swarm's technology, began to vibrate with increasing intensity. The effect on the swarm was immediate and catastrophic. Their perfectly synchronized quantum network, the source of their strength, became their undoing. The disruption cascaded through their connected ships, each vessel amplifying the effect and passing it on to others through their quantum entanglement. Crystalline ships began to fragment as their quantum fields collapsed. Those that tried to escape found their quantum tunneling abilities disrupted by the resonating filaments. The few that attempted to fight back discovered their weapons were useless, their energy absorbed and redirected by the quantum storm now raging through the Jupiter system. Multiple enemy vessels breaking apart, Asia reported, her voice tight with concentration as she kept the Chimera steady through the quantum turbulence. Their network is collapsing. They can't maintain quantum coherence. The cascade effect is exceeding predictions, Elena added. The disruption is spreading through their entire fleet. Their quantum signatures are destabilizing faster than they can adapt. The space around Jupiter lit up with the death throes of the swarm fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible mere moments before shattered into crystalline fragments, their quantum fields unraveling in spectacular displays of light and energy. When the quantum storm finally subsided, the results were clear. The mighty swarm, which had terrorized human space with their seemingly magical technology, had been utterly defeated. Of the 50-plus ships that had arrived, none remained intact. The quantum filaments they had used to move through space had been permanently altered, making their method of faster-than-light travel impossible in this sector. All ships, report status. Zhang called out. Chimera Squadron. Operational. Asia responded. All ships weathered the storm. The quantum wake riders performed exactly as designed. Europa Station secure, Elena confirmed. The moon's resonance field is stabilizing. The quantum pulse generator exceeded all expectations. As the human fleet regrouped, Zhang addressed all channels. This victory belongs to every human who refused to submit, who worked to understand our enemy, who believed we could overcome any challenge. The swarm thought their mastery of quantum physics made them invincible. They forgot that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our spirit, our creativity, our unwavering determination to survive and thrive. In the years that followed, humanity would recover and study the remnants of the swarm's technology. The quantum principles they had mastered would revolutionize human understanding of physics and space travel. But more importantly, the victory served as a reminder of what humans could achieve when pushed to their limits. As Elena stood on the observation deck of Europa Station, watching the cleanup operations, Asia joined her. "You know what the swarm's real mistake was?" the commander asked. Elena smiled. They thought technology alone determined the outcome of battles. They never understood that humanity's greatest weapon is our ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. We don't just use technology. We master it, improve it, and make it our own. And that, Asia agreed, is why we'll always win in the end. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we never stop growing, never stop pushing boundaries, never accept limitations. The stars twinkled in the distance, seemingly brighter now that the quantum storm had passed. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever, ready to continue its eternal journey of discovery and adaptation among the stars.